Hey, here I am, not live, but definitely in the flesh, here to talk about more guidelines, which is something that I am beginning to really love to do. This next guideline is literally one sentence, two if you count the one-word sentence right after it. Here it is. Are you ready? No blocking of lace on race staff, leadership team, or community members. Ever. In any other circumstances, we should be able to stop the video right here. We don't do that. But I want to give you a rationale as to why we don't, how it harms community cohesion and the safety of the space, and how it is, yes, violent. It's important that we think about the idea that it is indeed a violent act to block or in other ways erase, we've talked about that, the words and literally the personhood and the spirit of someone. It is a unilateral act. Blocking is. It's not, there's no room for negotiation, is there? There's no room for dialogue. It's, I don't want to deal with you. I am going to literally erase you. You can see how in a community like ours, in an environment like ours, how detrimental that is. But there's actually more to it than even that. Usually when we look at these guidelines, we can see the surface of the guidelines, but then we can also go down and down and down and down and see how it really does affect the soil and the roots of the orchard that we are trying to build. When we talk about, I just love how these people just go and they just decide that I really care deeply about McAfee products. Spoiler alert, I don't. But in any case, going back to this, when we talk about how deep this blocking is, how deep the violence that this blocking is, I want to give you a small confessional. It used to be in my days, and I actually thought that this was living within my stated ethos, but as I think about it, it absolutely is not. I used to say, with all the arrogance and hubris in the world, even though I thought that I was being savvy, I used to say, the opposite of hate is not love. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And I used that. I just kind of decided that I would be cynically neutral towards people. And that would be my passive-aggressive way of not having to take responsibility for the feelings that I was holding and managing my slosh. And I did it from a hugely top-down position. Here's what I used to say to people, and people would nod sagely like I'd said something wise, but in actuality, it wasn't wise at all. It was just downright mean. I used to say, oh, I just lost it. Oh, this. I used to say, it's not that I don't like them. I have nothing to learn from them. I really want you to think about what I just said. I never get angry at people. I just decide that I have nothing more to learn from them, and off they go. That is one of the most violent acts that I could do to someone. It's not even saying that they're a bad person. It's saying that they are not worth my time because there is nothing I can glean or consume from them. And I said that for years, and people thought that I was smart and savvy for saying that for years. It's only been in the last few years that I've really, really dug deeply into why that became a go-to for me. I have nothing to learn from you. And I would say it in this flat deadpan and dead eyes. Basically, you're dead to me. That's what blocking is. That is literally putting out a hit on someone in a community that you have agreed to, that you have opted in to participate in. There is no way that you can be the ground upon which tired feet can stand if someone is afraid that you are going to block them. As for blocking myself or staff or leadership team, that should be a given, but no more of a given than other community members. Remember, we are not a top-down space. It is, I have to be nice to Lace, and then when I figure out who the admin staff is, I sort of have to be nice to them, and then there's this leadership team thing going on, and I have to at least give them some sort of superficial props, and everyone else I can treat badly. That is how the world does it. That is how the world does it, and that is putting us into hierarchies. I founded this space. I am no better than the person who showed up yesterday. I'm no better than a lurker, because the lurker can course correct. The lurker can have a Damascus Road moment. But the lurker, if they see an environment, a culture of canceling, because this is what it is. I don't like what you said. Boop, delete. And everyone else, and I've seen this in other forums, online forums and groups, there will be this conversation going on, and this one person is going, what's happening? What's happening? And they don't know, because one or the other of the parties that are in that conversation blocked them. And they have absolutely no idea what's going on, for better or for worse. That is problematic. Here, all of us know as much as possible. All of us know the same thing at the same time in the same amount. We do not hoard resources. We do not hoard knowledge. And we are called to Hesed love. And that means that we don't just love the easy ones. Let me pull out a couple of people who are active in the community who it is painfully easy to love. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Julie? Who doesn't love Leonie? Who doesn't love Holly? They are easy to love. They are easy to succor and hold. But this is not high school. This is not middle school. There is no popularity contest here. Let's talk about what comes up, what happens when something or someone activates you enough that you decide that you have nothing to learn from them, that you no longer want to be in communion with them, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? I no longer want to walk with you. See the import of that sentence and the violence of it. So what happened? That is when your slosh bucket is just sloshing all over the place, the way to steady it is not to hit the block button, not to hit the ban button, not to hit the delete button, none of that. What it is to examine yourself with curiosity. I'm going to pick on Danielle for a minute because she's the one that uploads all these videos, so she listens to it first. Let's just say that you're really activated by something that Danielle said. And you think, oh my gosh, and your finger is itching, the trigger finger is itching to just press delete. That's when you step back and do an internal scan. Why am I activated? She talked about being a daughter. Am I activated at what Danielle said or who Danielle is? And let's just say that it was Danielle. Let's just say that she said something that was absolutely benign, but it still triggered you. And you didn't know what to do with the trigger. And usually the go-to that our society has us in is that if we feel any stirrings of discomfort, we run. And one way to run in cyberspace is to press the delete button. How about talking to Danielle? Danielle, I'm not sure that I'm getting you. Can you go a little deeper? And as I know Danielle will be more than happy to do that for you. But let's say it was Danielle. Believe it or not, as much as I love my staff and leadership team, they are not perfect people, partially because they are led by a not perfect leader. But let's just say that Danielle did say something artless. Let's just say that Danielle did say something that provoked you. Let's just say that Danielle was having a bad day and the candor overtook the kindness that day, and you were triggered and activated. This is not the time to bail out of the car when the car is going 60 miles an hour. You can look over at Danny and say, hey, can we pull into a rest stop for a minute? Can we talk about the conflict that we're having? Can we talk about what's coming up for me? That takes risk on your part, way more risk than pressing the delete button. It takes a trust that Danielle will slow down the car and go into a rest stop so that you and she can commune together and do the full circle of connection. And now we're in disconnection. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then back to repair and then back to connection. That is how we do it. It is truncating the process. It is obliterating the process. When it's like, well, Danielle has nothing to say to me. Danielle has nothing that I can learn from. If nothing else, I mean, you did learn something from Danny today, right? You learned that various words strung together in various ways brings forth a reaction in you. Here in cyberspace, our words need to be as precise as possible. There is no tone. There's about 3 different ways of saying, did you pick up the radishes at Ralph's? 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 It can be said in a supplicating way. Did you pick up the radishes at Ralph's? It could be said in an equal way. Hey, did you pick up the radishes at Ralph's? All of these things, my nuances, my body language, my tone, my inflection, can either bring someone and keep someone in baseline and connection, or can sever. What Sue Johnson, who we're going to be working with as well, what Sue Johnson calls a relational fissure. So let's pick on Danny again. Danny came all the way from North Carolina, and she's waiting for me to bring salad fixins. And she really did say, hey, did you pick up the radishes? What I heard after having to mask up, go into Albertsons, wait for 30 minutes, and then the person right in front of me is trying to give exact change and it's giving 20 minutes, and then I'm sitting there cooling my heels on Massachusetts as I'm trying to go back home. That was a 40-minute trip. I am not hearing Danny. I am not hearing Danny. Hey, did you get the radishes? Hey, did you get the radishes? And I am responding to what I think I heard. A lot of times we say we do not encounter the text or the video or any sort of input that we're consuming as it is. We experience it as we are. So Danny is absolutely gobsmacked. She did not know. She thought it was easy. There was a long list. Maybe they didn't have radishes. Maybe she's going to have to figure out another salad. Who knows? It was a very neutral statement. I was the one that escalated it. I was the one that heard, did you bring the radishes? So I'm the one that slams out of the kitchen, slams that sliding glass door until it almost breaks, and comes back and brings in all the groceries, and I throw them on the floor. Here's your radishes. Danny is canceled. and Danny's attempts at relational repair. Did I say something that hurt you? Now I'm embarrassed because you know what? She really didn't. All she asked me about was radishes. But I can't, I can't to say that, oh, it wasn't about you. There was a guy that was literally counting out 40 pennies in the checkout line with 10 people behind him. And I was getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and I couldn't say anything to him. But I could say something to you. All the frustration of the last 40 minutes came out with a benign comment from radishes. It's the same thing in a lot of ways when people are here and we are learning each other. Here's what I do notice. The more that you are here in community, in deep community, and as you get to learn me, as you get to learn my staff, as you get to learn my leadership team and community members, slosh is a lot less. I know that how Miela engages is different than how Meleza does. I am used to, and because they both interact a lot, I know them by now. They have allowed themselves to be seen. So if Mila has a bad day or just a bad turn of phrase, I'm willing to give her grace, and I feel safe enough with her to ask her for clarification. And we also need to remember something that I have said more than once. Being triggered or activated is not the same as being harmed. Say it like a mantra. Being triggered is not the same as being harmed. In our culture, so many times, anytime we feel a rush of any emotion, anytime we feel even the slightest twinge of discomfort, we call it triggered. And while I have a lot of respect and appreciation and compassion for trigger points, as someone who has suffered abuse, I absolutely know what triggered means, and I've also done the academic work. I get it. But there is a big difference between someone inadvertently being unkind to me or saying something that they didn't know trips a wire. Someone that didn't know that my dog recently left me would be completely in the right and benign and even kind. So how's Tika? And all of a sudden, whoosh, whoosh, that whoosh comes. And I've got some choice points to make in the midst of a real pain point. Oh my God, I miss Tika so much. She should be here right now, licking on my legs, and you should hear her snuffling and going in and out of the door, and it's been 3 weeks, and I miss her so much. But it is not the person standing behind me in Albertsons who remembers me and asks about Tika. I can't cancel her. She didn't know. Now, if I tell her and then she's unkind or insensitive, that's on her. But her question was asked out of care and concern and community. She didn't know she triggered me. A lot of times people don't know when you're triggered, when you're activated. And I see a lot of trigger points and activation points with people who do not engage very much. They lurk, and then they poke their heads out like a gopher, and then they attempt one thing, and then someone gives them either a request for clarification or a little bit of pushback or even affirmation, but not the affirmation they were hoping for. Oh, this place has nothing to teach me. And not only do they block the person, they block Lace on Race. That is not relentless reliability. That is not resilience. So the answer to not blocking is the prescription that we give you here. Mind the slosh. Hold your own hand. Assume the best intention. That is different than when we talk about impact trumps intent. It's more of a Quaker saying. It's when I'm looking at you, I am giving you the full benefit of the doubt. And if something is funky, I might twinge a little, but I'm still going to assume that you're a good actor. That's part of the problem here. If you're not here enough to know and to learn and to begin to trust the people who are walking beside you, everything is an affront. But here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. If everything is an affront, if everything is offensive, then guess what? Nothing is. It's crying wolf. Someone forgetting to give me a pickle at the sub shop in Lemon Grove, which, by the way, is still open, and I am going to get a sub. I need to support local Lemon Grove businesses. And the Mexican place can't get all my money. But let's just say they forget my pickle, and it's a really good pickle. It's not a kosher dill. It's a real, honest-to-God, southern sour dill. They only give you a quarter of it. I've ordered 2 sandwiches so I can get 2 pickles. But let's just say they forget. Even if I have some sort of background around pickles, it's not their fault that I am feeling that whoosh. That whoosh is my responsibility. Now, if I respond appropriately, hey, you forgot my pickle. Can I have a pickle? And then they give me 2. Oh my gosh, there wasn't even any disconnection. There was clarification. We're still connected. Then we go into, hey, this happened. Oh, let me fix it. We're right back to connection. We don't even have to do a whole lot of repair. I got 2 pickles. If they give me a little bit of pushback, I'm pretty sure I gave you a pickle. I'm looking at it right here. See the pastrami, but no pickle. Then they have a choice point as to how they are going to deal with me. And then I, indeed, have a choice point as to how I'm going to deal with them. But it would be entirely inappropriate if I walked back to the Santa Fe either way and go, that's it, not going to the hoagie place anymore. The hoagie place is canceled. Okay, there's so much wrong there. That hoagie place has been around since my high school days, literally late 70s, early 80s. That place has been around for 40 years. I have had uniformly good experiences at the hoagie place. I personally think they keep those pickles there just for me. So one time they forget a pickle, I'm going to cancel them. And even if they do not give me the answer that I hope for, and they kind of, here's a pickle. Well, we're not counting the 18 to-go orders that they have to do, and there's only 2 of them in the shop. They're not thinking about the idea of, oh my gosh, if I get one more, because I'm coming at them at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. They open at 11. They've had 5 hours of people being nice or neutral or not very nice or just downright awful. They got triggered too. All of a sudden, you forgot my pickle becomes, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this business. I'm so incompetent. We never, ever, ever look at text or look at another person at complete face value. And those people who say they do, it's like, I just accept you as you are. It's like, nope, you have got 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years worth of schemas that you are bringing with you, all that Samsonite luggage, into fairly innocuous conversations, both in print and verbally. So I need to remember that. I need to remember that sometimes a pickle is just a pickle. And even if I didn't get the pickle, even if I drive home and I figure out they forgot my pickle and I don't get a pickle, I am not going to write a 1-star review on Yelp for the hoagie place because for the first time in 40 years, they forgot my pickle. What I am saying is that response needs to be proportionate to the real or perceived harm done. It's probably not worth it to me to drive another 1.5 miles to the hoagie place because I'm semi-rural and everything takes a drive. Drive all the way back and go, you forgot a pickle. But the next time I go, and I'm going to make sure that there's a next time I go because I want them to have a chance to repair. Because right now in the back of my mind, even though I'm being gracious, I'll live without a pickle. I'll just get a pickle out of the refrigerator because I always have pickles. What is a refrigerator without pickles? So I get my own dill pickle. So I did get pickle procurement, and a whole pickle this time, not a quarter. But the next time I go back, I might gently, last time I didn't get a pickle. Can you make sure I get a pickle this time? And knowing what I know of the hoagie place, and I know a lot about the hoagie place, they're going to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I would not be surprised if I saw basically 3 or 4 pickle quarter slices with my ham and cheese. That's repair. That's repair. And I need to allow them the opportunity to repair. And canceling and deleting and blocking does not give the other the chance to repair. This is part of our praxis. It's not just that it's rude. It's not just that it's inconsiderate. It is absolutely living out of alignment with the stated values and ethos of this space. This space needs to stay as safe-ish as possible. And have you ever seen groups and websites where it's like, you're canceled, you're deleted, you're blocked? No one feels safe. All of a sudden, the only thing that it's safe to do is to either pile on the person who's being vilified, or speak your truth and risk being canceled too. Or you just quietly slink away. None of those options are healthy. None of those options are safe. To be able to keep this a safe-ish space, we all need to be willing to initiate the repair process, and if you're on the receiving end, to walk with the other person through the repair process. Usually it's a sentence or 2. But if you're not here, you don't trust. You don't trust the process and you don't trust the people. And one of the things that is absolutely necessary is that we learn to trust the people that we are walking with, that we learn to see the light in all of their eyes and in their hearts. I would much rather be considered inarticulate or artless than not worth learning from. Everyone has something to give here. Best case study, cautionary tale. And all of those lessons are important and valid, and who you are in the midst of those lessons is every bit as important and as valid. I love you all. Wow, we got a lot out of a 1-sentence guideline, didn't we? On to the next.